everybody, and welcome to tonight's game between the Clayton Valley Eagles and the Northgate Broncos. Anthony Schultz along with Dan Wall. A battle within the conference here. A couple of teams going pretty well right now, Dan. What can we see from tonight's game?
Well, these two teams are right there in the middle of the pack. And this is in a league where we're not used to seeing Ignacio Valley and Mount Diablo at the top of the standings in other sports, but in this league they are. So these teams are battling. This is one of those games that could come back to help a team as they head towards the playoffs next month.
All right, let's go ahead and meet the visiting team, the Clayton Valley Eagles.
Aiden Lineweaver, number 1, goalkeeper.
Taylor Howerman, number 12, forward.
Alden Solis, number 13, center attacking mid.
Alam Rahik, number 15, center midfield.
Anthony Bonds, number 16, forward.
Jalen Wakefield, number 10, defense.
Alex King, number 9, striker.
Shane Mann, 22, defender.
Elise Molina, number 4, center defensive mid.
Greg Olson, 23, center defensive mid.
Jonathan Balasordi, number 6, striker.
Sam Rule, number 3, right back.
Pablo Hernandez, number 8, center attacking mid.
Ryan Lockering, number 7, center back.
Peyton Rhodes, number 19, right mid. Ryan Bolander, number 21, right mid.
Michael Vargas, number 18, forward.
Anthony Madam, number 11, left mid.
Dylan Goes, number 5, right back.
Isaac Salcedo, 00, keeper.
Barney Hernandez, number 0, goalkeeper.
And the Eagles are coached by Guillermo Jara in his third year, Dan. And the first year was pretty tough. He took over a team that lost 20 games, but they are on the upswing right now. They've won 3 straight. And Guillermo, an MLS, former MLS player, played with the Galaxy, coached some different places, and also coached with some of the youth for the San Jose Earthquakes.
So he's got a nice history going, and on the upswing, as you said, some of these programs have been down in years. This one's on the way back up.
Well, the Northgate Broncos, of course, a nice program here too. And let's meet the Northgate Broncos.
Noah Smith, 11, center mid.
Greg Harris, number 2, center mid.
Nick Giannini, 17, forward.
Alex Azevedo, number 18, center back.
Kuman Rosie, 19, forward.
Adrian Ortiz, number 23, defender.
Francis Amelia, number 13, defender.
Ryan Hathaway, number 7, midfielder.
Faraj Sharma, number 2, defender.
Dean Lewis, number 12, forward.
Kiro Gergis, number 6, midfielder.
David Chinoda, number 9, striker. Dylan Burke, number 16, defender.
Jack Osborne, number 21, defender.
Michael Hathaway, number 8, defender. Andres Garcia, number 14, midfielder.
George Burrows, number 10, center mid.
Stephen Foster, number 1, goalkeeper.
Zachary Lamb, number 1, goalkeeper.
And, of course, Northgate is coached by Steve Chappeldan.
I had a nice chat with Steve before the game. He talked about the strategy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after we come back from break. But I think this should be an interesting game tonight, contrasting styles here tonight, Tony.
It should be an interesting game, and stay tuned. We'll have it for you right here on Walnut TV.
Parking made easy and convenient.
You're good to go.
Now that was easy.
Hi, welcome to Inside Center Rep.
My name is Carrie Lederer, and I'm the curator of exhibitions here at the Bedford Gallery.
Hi there, welcome to Get Lit.
And that's when I decided to run for the city council.
so exciting.
Got a problem? A discarded cigarette is a big problem. Cigarette butts are toxic and don't biodegrade. They travel in storm drains to end up harming our water supply and poisoning wildlife. But running this problem out of town is easy. Take a stand. Put cigarette butts where they belong. Keep Walnut Creek clean.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Just moments away from the start of tonight's game. It's the Clayton Valley Charter Eagles coming in at 3-2-1. And the host team, the Northgate Broncos, 5-3-1 overall for Northgate. Anthony Schultz along with Dan Wall in a DVAL battle here. Dan, it should be an interesting ball game.
Could be very interesting, Tony. Teams with contrasting styles. Northgate a little bit more proficient with the ball. And to counter that, Clayton comes out with a 3-5-2 defense, which, if you notice, the 5 midfielders should clog up the field a little bit more for a technical possession passing type team like Northgate. Clayton likes to get the ball and go. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out tonight. One thing I already noticed, Tony, as it always does when we do games, is that we cannot see the Northgate numbers because they are yellow on white.
Thanks, guys.
So we will get out a telescope so we can tell you who's playing for Northgate. But well, before we get started, let's just run down the starters in today's game.
Yeah,
for Clayton Valley, Aiden Lineweaver is the goaltender. Sam Riddle, Luis Molina, John Bellasorte, Ryan Glockner Ring, Anthony Matum, Osbaldo Solis, Elhaim Rahik, Anthony Vines, Ryan Bolander. I wonder how he got in the starting lineup tonight.
I don't recognize that name.
Yeah, I don't need either. And Shane Mann for Coach Guillermo Jara. And you have some information on him we'll talk about during the game.
Talk about that later, yeah.
For Northgate tonight, we've seen them once before against Las Lomas. They won that game 3-0. Ryan Hathaway and Michael Hathaway must be brothers. David Shinada, George Burrows and Noah Smith, the big two in the midfield. Francis Samia, Andres Garcia, Gregory Harris, Alex Azevedo, Adrian Ortiz, and the goaltender tonight wearing number 1, Zachary Lamb.
Okay, and we are just about to set to get underway. And you see the Clayton Valley Charter in their black with the white numbers, and Northgate in the all-white with the sort of hidden numbers.
Dude, they don't even have an outline. If they were outlined in red, I might be able to see them. Oh, my goodness. Matt, can you get on the uniform number situation?
Apparently they're not doing a whole lot of prime time, but here we go. As Northgate going down the side, kicked away there by Clayton Valley, and that'll go out of bounds.
Neither are we.
But actually, though, Dan, looking at our beautiful monitor over here from Walnut Creek TV, you can actually make out the numbers a little bit when you get a nice shot of one of the Northgate players' back. And you see there Clayton Valley, and there's
that's
Aiden Lineweaver.
Mr. Lineweaver.
One of the captains.
He's a senior.
They'll boot this one toward midfield, and they'll scrap for it there. And the first body hits the floor, hits the ground here, and this is going to go the way of Northgate, and that was number 7, Ryan Hathaway, the aforementioned Hathaway.
I know you were setting me up for a drowning pool moment there because they did the bodies hit the floor, but that was a while back, Tony.
But, talking a little bit about Clayton, Dan, and just a couple of years removed from a 20-loss season. And, of course, after that, Guillermo Jara taking over this club. And they were a couple of games under 500, but certainly very much improved from that 20-loss season, Dan. They ended up, I think, 6 ties and 6 wins following that. But the year before that 20-loss season, they had all these seniors made the NCS and barely lost out the NCS title to De La Salle. And, of course, De La Salle reeling off a number of NCS titles, and that's nothing new for the Spartans.
That is not shocking to anyone who's followed our programs over the years.
That's so Clayton Valley kind of on the rebound, if you will. And Coach Hara told me earlier in the week that, one of the things they really want to do, Dan, is be above 500 and get a chance to make the NCS. This one goes out of bounds. We'll have a throw in here from Clayton. And, of course, if they are able to win the DVAL, they would get the automatic bid. But if you're over 500, at least you can apply and see if you can make that NCS. So that'll be one thing they're really looking for. And this one is going to go out of bounds on the far side. Another throw in here upcoming for Northgate.
Well, both teams are over 500 as we come into this game. Clayton's 1-1 in the league with a win against Concord and a loss to Mount Diablo. And Northgate has lost to College Park and tied Mount Diablo. And as I mentioned, Tony, Mount Diablo and Ignacio were two of the better teams in the DVAL soccer. And
right.
as we've talked about, those are not teams you see
not in basketball
lately.
and football.
And I had some conversations last week. I spent 4 days working with Clay Callum and Dave Jackson and their West Coast Jamboree, and not just about basketball, but I talked to a couple of athletic directors about just overall programs. And I remember how proud the Ignacio Valley AD was about his soccer team, who has, have that new field over there that they play on, much like Northgate, and has been doing fairly well this season.
Yeah, it's nice to see some of those teams, Dan, that aren't maybe having some success or any success in some of the sports, able to find some sports where they can have success. This one's going to be headed out of bounds. Just added some more lights here.
Well, one thing I like that they added here is that netting that stops the ball from rolling like at Los Lomas, where it rolled almost into Alamo that couple of times.
We can't get one more ball,
wow.
another ball thrown into the game.
Someone with a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention, Tony, it's weird. Last week I saw Concord's girls play, and they wore black. And they're green and gold usually. And now tonight we're seeing Clayton Valley play, and they're wearing black. And they're blue and red usually. So
it throws us totally off.
The black thing hasn't, what is it? Red is black is the new red.
Orange is the new black.
Orange the new black.
Or that's a TV show maybe.
It is.
But also we got an interesting treat here. We have those little cameras.
Yes.
And they're not operated by little men.
No,
they're
little
guys. They're
Well, Matt Bolander's sons have actually grown up and are now playing soccer in high school, as opposed to carrying around the cameras like they used to for their father 10 years ago when we were doing this.
Well, I'll tell you how fast time goes by. One of them's in college. My Lord, where is the time gone? Already 2015. So Lineweaver picks this one out. He'll punt this one away. Aiden puts a leg into this one and gets it out to midfield. But we have those GoPro cameras.
And there is Matt's son, number 21, on the far sideline.
We have those GoPro cameras in each of the nets tonight, Dan, so we might get some very interesting shots, to say the least. We'll hope that we do.
I guess they just get turned on and they just sit there, and then Matt has to go back and edit through the footage.
All right, here's Northgate. Kicking this one toward midfield. This one will go out of bounds. Clayton will have a throw in here from the near side.
One thing, Tony, that positive about tonight is the recent cold spell has broken. And
it was beautiful today.
Very
actually.
nice out today. Very clear and beautiful out today. So
yeah, very unlike the last soccer game that we did when we were with Northgate and
chilly.
Over at Los Lomas. That was part of those times when the wind was just getting absolutely crazy.
And the rain had we just had that 4 straight days of rain. So and the field's nice and dry and fast tonight. So
it looks very nice out here. You're clear, not too cool. Certainly you want to be wearing a jacket,
yeah. but not horrible for January.
But
have we mentioned there's no score?
Throw in here from the far side and headed out of bounds over on that Clayton bench. Going to take a look at the other Eagles over there. So talking to Guillermo as this one comes in, Northgate on the offensive attack. Difference between last year and this year, Dan, is that the system is working as he's installed it here. The freshman of the varsity, everybody's on the same page. And a lot like the other sports, Dan, and we're going to have a whistle here. And looks like there's an injury. Picking himself as Anthony Madum off the ground, number 11. This one going to go against Northgate. And the ball now momentarily will be controlled here by Clayton Valley. But so like a lot of the other sports, Dan, you start with the freshmen, everybody's doing the same thing. So by the time they get up here, you can kind of interchange those pieces. Everybody's on the same page with, what's everybody knows what's going on here, and they've all been, schooled all the way from their freshman year.
Well, not only that, but a number of these guys, we can talk about some of the notes we receive from the coaches, but they play for the same club teams
right?
as well.
Yeah.
So some of these guys not only play here together. I was noticing some notes on Ryan Bolander, who he plays for the Diablo Football Club, and his brother Brandon, who played here, is in the crowd tonight. Probably helping
right.
Matt do something.
He was. I think he was helping install one of those GoPros. All right. Here's a free kick coming up from Clayton Valley. Up in the air, headed, and Hagwards are now trying to hook that one in, unable to do so. That one is wide left. So a pretty decent-looking offensive opportunity there for Clayton Valley.
Oh, by the way, while we have these two, Clayton Valley here, we can congratulate their football team, who went all the way to the state championship game, losing by a point. I'm sure that was not the result Coach Murphy wanted, but still a great year and undefeated to that point.
Yeah, congratulations to the Eagles.
Yeah, we had 4 out of the 6 state championship football games won by Northern California teams, Tony. That is not normal, so to speak. Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's De La Salle and maybe one other team. This year it was De La Salle, Campolindo. Did Folsom win theirs? It may be Folsom won, and one of the lower level teams won. So 4 out of 6 from up here, so that's good. We don't have state soccer. And it's kind of weird in a way that we have a state football championship with the physicality of football, but we don't have a state soccer championship. In soccer, in high school level, they play a lot of games.
They sure do.
We'll talk a little bit more about what's going on in the pro ranks in America later in the game, but, they play 34 games spread out over almost the whole year. These guys play 20-some-odd games spread out over 3.5 months.
You talked about the football team. Chandler has just come back. Clayton Valley went so deep, and he's one of the guys that made an impact for Clayton Valley last year, Dan, and now he's going to have time to get back into the fold here. And this one, body's knocked down again, and a whistle.
That's that's Ryan Bolander, and that's how Matt treats us when we have a bad open. Just takes us right out.
But anyway, for Clayton Valley, Dan, it's nice to, you got things going well, and then you kind of pick up an extra player. It's almost like getting a free trade. So maybe some extra firepower for them moving along toward the rest of the season. Here's Lineweaver again, and he'll boot this one away. Yeah, taking a look at the DVAL standings, Ignacio Valley in first place right now. Dan, we talked about that earlier. 4-4-1 for the Warriors. 2-0 in the DVAL. Mount Diablo 1-0-1, 4-2-2 for the Red Devils. And you have College Park, Clayton Valley, Northgate, and Concord and Berean Christian. Although Berean, Dan, 0-1 so far in league, but 4-1-2 overall. So the other Eagles over there actually doing pretty well right now. And something other of note, Dan, is we talk about some of our leagues here, DFL, DVAL, BVAL, EVAL. Don't get too used to that anymore. That's going to change as well.
No, according to some of the chatter I heard last week around the tournament I was at, one of the changes that's being discussed is moving Clayton Valley into the BVAL with Antioch, Pittsburgh, Liberty, Heritage, Deer Valley, and Freedom. And there's also the ongoing saga of where to put De La Salle.
Got it.
Well, the NFL, they turned them down as well. They were afraid that Jacksonville might lose.
I don't know. Maybe they could play some of the JCs or something like that. Make it a little more fair.
And there's also talk about what to do with College Park. You see over here, when this league was first announced 4 or 5 years ago, the idea was to put all the Mount Diablo School District teams in the same league.
That makes
now
sense.
the enrollment numbers are starting to get skewed, and Clayton Valley and College Park have much higher enrollment numbers than places like Ignacio. Ignacio Valley only has about a little over 1,000 students. When you compare that to a school that has 3,000, the competitive level sometimes falls off. But there's also talk of making a 2-division league with all the rest of the Concord area schools and all of the teams in the Diablo Foothill League, which is includes Los Lomas. So Los Lomas and Northgate could end up in the same league again after they were in the same league and now we're out of the same league. So
that would be a good change there. I agree with that. I do like, however, Dan, all the teams in the BVAL being on the Highway 4 corridor. That certainly makes sense. But, like you said, difference between how many people you have and sometimes, Dan, you're just going to have to take a team or two that's over the hill, not over the hill in age, but over the hill in terms of geography. They're going to have to come over here and join another league.
Yeah, but none of it is concrete, and it'll all be, I'm sure, discussed over the next year. And we'll see what happens.
All right, Northgate trying to mount an attack.
And you can see they're playing a huge presence in the midfield defensively, Clayton Valley, dropping 3 defensemen. Now, this time they have dropped back 5 guys on their back line, you can see. So maybe as they move towards the goal, midfielders transition backwards into the what is called a defender. Everyone's a defender when you don't have the ball, but
you can see how with all the black shirts they're really crowded in there. It just seems like when they get the ball down there, Dan, there's just more black shirts than there are white shirts.
Mm-hmm. We played about 13 minutes, Tony, and there's no score. I don't even know if we had a shot on goal.
Not a shot on goal. Clayton Valley did have a pretty good chance. Ball kind of hooked around that left side, that left post. But I couldn't call a shot on goal. This was a body going to hit the floor. This is going to be a penalty. And a whistle will go, I believe, against Clayton Valley. And Northgate will have it there. And a chance to start with a little bit of room. And starting this is going to be George Burrows, one of the stars of this team, and one of the guys, along with Nate Smith, are going to be playing at the next level.
Well, I want to mention
career is done.
George Burrows for a number of reasons. Number one, he is going to St. Mary's next year. But number two, his favorite soccer player is George Best. Now, if any of you follow soccer, you'll know that George Best was one of the greatest English soccer players of his day, and he actually played for the San Jose Earthquakes. One of the greatest goals ever scored in the old North American Soccer League history was a goal that Best scored at Spartan Stadium against the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, a goal that you can go on YouTube and see the highlights to this day of him dribbling through almost the entire Fort Lauderdale team and then scoring a goal. Unfortunately, George passed away a few years ago. Let's just say George, as good as he was a soccer player, was probably just as good a drinker. He loved his Irish whiskey, and George lived a very, very good life. As a matter of fact, the Thin Lizzy, the band who were big soccer fans and a great band, wrote a song about George Best back in the day.
Interesting.
And George Best is one of my favorite soccer players. I actually own a replica jersey of George Best, so me and Burroughs could probably have something to talk about.
But Dan, you have one of my old high school jerseys.
I do have your old jersey, Tony. You know why?
Have so many jerseys, it's ridiculous.
It was in great shape because it was never used.
Oh, Daniel. Ouch. You're off my Christmas list. Well, you were never on it, but you're off it anyway. We're talking about one of the other stars here is a throw in here for Northgate, another whistle. Noah Smith, another very talented Broncos. And they were telling me about a shot that he made against Camp Olinda, one of the leading goal scorers. Kind of received the ball, Dan, as this one getting near the goal and just tapped away there by Clayton Valley.
Nice defensive play that time. After a quick restart, too, they kind of got in there and shocked the Eagles.
Well, that was the best chance so far for Northgate. Now from the far corner, this one to be knocked out of bounds and up and over that short fence. But anyway, Noah had a shot against Campo, Dan, that he received the ball between the goal post and the goal flag, kind of settled it with one quick tip, kind of tapped it to himself, and then volleyed it to the upper V of that far post, and the goalie didn't even move. Coach Chappell told me everybody in the place was stunned. He said he hadn't seen such a great goal scored, in a long, long time. And that's he says he's going to have some footage of it. He'll be able to send us.
Maybe we
that
can
would
show
be wonderful.
That in a
We'd like to be able to show
soccer
that
matchup. And, his favorite player, we got this list from Northgate. This is nice. It gives us some things to talk about, is Alexis Sanchez, who plays for Arsenal, and he's from Chile. So as we go through this today, talking about some of these favorite players and things of the teams, you'll notice some of them are very, very popular players, like Messi and I love this one, Ronaldinho. That takes up a few of the syllables.
Ronaldinho.
And some of them are guys I've never heard of. So these kids are really into their soccer. I noticed one player here on the Clayton Valley team. It said something about him being a freak for one of the teams. I had to look through my notes as you're announcing the game, Tony, so you go right ahead. Oh, here it is. Pablo Hernandez, who's not a starter, but his favorite, he's in love with Real Madrid. And going through some research, did you know that Real Madrid is the most...
I know they're in Spain.
You know, that's why you're here, part. Tony. Yeah. That's why I do the color. They're the most... they are worth the most, I should say. I'm trying to think of the right word. They're the sports team that's worth the most money in the world.
Wow. Okay.
Even over the Cowboys and the Yankees and teams
that is like amazing.
Yeah, the Rams aren't up there. And by the way, Andres Garcia, his favorite player is Chicharito, who plays for Real Madrid. So there's a bunch of Real Madrid players in here and guys that played in Spain and play in Argentina. You know, soccer, of course, the world in America is ruled by the top four sports, baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. The rest of the world is ruled by this sport right here.
Absolutely. But some other news, Matt Boulder passed on some interesting note to me. Steve Gerrard leaving Liverpool. He's one of the captains of that team to join the LA Galaxy,
yes,
Dan. And the Galaxy need more wealth. They've won 3 out of the last 4.
They lost
MLS
Landon Donovan.
Cups.
He retired. So there's one of their main strikers and one of the great American soccer players of all time. So you bring over Gerrard from England, and he'll add to their attack. But we'll talk a little bit too about the MLS. There's a bunch of good expansion news, and last time we did these games, they hadn't announced the openers, Tony. But one note I can for local fans, I believe it's Avaya. It could be Avea. The stadium. They had to go and name the stadium after something that's not pronounced very easily. But the new stadium in San Jose, March 22nd, Chicago Fire, San Jose Earthquakes, opening night at the new stadium in San Jose for the Earthquakes.
Yeah, I bet you're going to get a huge crowd.
Well, the stadium only holds about 20,000, which is good because that will
pretty
be
good. That makes it nice and intimate, and there's still plenty of people.
And it will be beautiful compared to where they had played. Nothing wrong with Buckshaw Stadium, but it's about, if you just expanded all the bleachers here, you'd have Buckshaw Stadium. It does not have any luxury suites or clubs or any of that kind of stuff, which they now have.
But they've played at Levi Stadium as well, right? They've kind of moved that around a little bit.
Well, they're going to continue to play a game there, and they're going to continue to play a game at Stanford against the Galaxy every June. So there will be numerous venues used. So that's one of the exciting things to look forward to.
Zach Lamb here to left foot this one away, back to midfield. And now the Northgate back in the attack. This kind of shifty move right there, a little give and go coming down the line. And a nice looking pass right there. That's some good move by Greg Harris, number 15. Whistle's going to blow this one dead, and the Clayton Valley will take over. But I was checking out some MLS notes earlier in the week, Dan, and founded back in 1993, founders Alan Rothenberg, Philip Anschutz, and Lamar Hunt. That might be a name that's familiar to you.
Well, Philip Anschutz was involved with the building of the Staples Center in Los Angeles and for a time with the Los Angeles Kings and the Galaxy early on in their stay. And then, of course, Lamar Hunt's the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
One of the founders of the AFL, actually, but the leading founder. I think he was, maybe Al Davis and some of the other guys right behind that. But Lamar Hunt was really one of the mainstays. And they had a very interesting derogatory name for those original AFL owners, of which Lamar Hunt was the leader in that.
Can you say it on?
Oh, you can. It escapes me here now. Okay. But the Foolish Club, I believe it was.
Well, the Kansas City, at one point were the Wizards, are now the Sporting KC. They're one of the stories that kind of lends to what has now become a very successful league for American soccer, because they started out playing at Arrowhead Stadium, and even when they drew 15 or 20,000 people, the place looked empty.
Right.
And now they play in their own stadium, which has been the mainstay of a number of teams. Almost everyone is getting their own stadium now these days, like the Earthquakes that hold 20 to 25,000, and the attendance is very good there. You can charge a little bit more for your premium seating. You have club seating, and it's a little bit more of an experience you might experience. Oh, we got a yellow card on Mr. Bolander. Matt's going to have a chat with him tonight at dinner, I think.
So Bollinger will come out. They can replace him here with the yellow card, so they'll still be at full strength. It's the red card that means you're out and you cannot replace the player.
Which 2 yellows equal a red as well, so just so you know.
2 wrongs don't make a right, but 2 yellows make a red.
2 yellows make a red. One thing to remind any of you joining us for the first time in high school, you can have unlimited substitution in high school soccer just as long as the ball is dead like it is right now.
Peyton Rhodes, number 19, coming in for Bollinger. It'll be a free kick upcoming here for Northgate. So we're talking a little bit about that MLS, the MLS Cup Galaxy over the Revolution, Dan, back on December the 7th. Robbie Keane, the MVP, the 3rd cup in 4 years for the Galaxy. They're going to get that other player we talked about from Liverpool.
And here's the amazing thing, December the 7th, right? That was the championship game. The league opens March 6th with the Galaxy at Chicago. So 3 months off for the MLS.
It's soccer just like here, Dan, because, we have the girls that play in the summer and then finish sort of in the fall when their championships, and the boys playing at different times. And here's one racing toward the end. This one's going to be kicked out of bounds.
That was a nice run that time by Bellasorte, but he just couldn't get the ball through. That's the offside kind of rule we talked about last time we did the game, where you can't be in front of the player before the pass is made, so you have to kind of lead him. And if you have good speed on your back end, you can get back and make that play, which Northgate did.
But just to finish that thought there, Dan, you have a situation here where soccer never really ends.
Well, the Earthquakes go to camp next week.
Yeah, but I mean, the girls finished here a few months ago, and if you play in different counties and things, the girls might be playing right now. Well, they play different times.
These girls are playing right now because we did the games between Los Lomas and Northgate. The girls are playing here now. In some other areas, like your former Eric and Marin, they do it.
They've already finished. But and then you have all the club teams, Dan, and I mean, soccer's just going all year round. That's all there is to it.
Well, one reason that could change one day, it was originally done that way because football coaches didn't want soccer players on their field ripping up their grass fields back in the day of grass fields. Now that you have these multi-purpose stadiums, you could have soccer during the fall. It would make more sense because some places, like if you had played last week, if you'd have played soccer, I don't know how you'd have played the game. It was so cold. 39 degrees outside. Soccer wasn't made to be played in 39 degrees.
When we were out at the game, a few weeks back, Dan, over at Los Lomas, and my teeth were chattered, and I'm thinking, shouldn't we be playing basketball?
Yeah, or ice hockey.
Something indoors. So
far, no one has really had much of an advantage territorial in this game.
I wouldn't say at all. I think both teams have had, a limited opportunity to score. Still not really a shot on goal, and now we have an injury as one of the Clayton Valley Eagles hits the ground and is slow to get up.
See, that's one of those tough calls because if you get the ball, there is no foul. It's that simple. And you can knock a guy over like that. Now, it looks like he's reaching in his pocket for a yellow card, and he is.
Second yellow card we've seen here in this first half. Clock down inside 15 minutes now.
Looks like he presented that card to number 8, Michael Hathaway. But that is an interesting call because the injury, but like I said, if you do get the ball and trip the guy, there's no foul. So that's a very close call. Nothing I can...
That's a clean tackle,
as opposed to this, I can't say whether it was or not. He's out there on the field. And usually, I guess when you get a yellow card, you have to go sit off for a while. That must be a rule in high school. You take a cooling off period.
Well, you do, and then you replace the way Bollinger was replaced earlier, and now we have trying to see who that replacement.
Well, 6 is hobbling off the field, so he must have got hurt on that play. So, possibly a good call. Maybe in high school, too, it's called a little closer than it is in
he looks definitely
ranks.
hurt.
Yeah.
That is John Bellasorte.
I'll give him credit for that. Some of the complaints about soccer players are is that they go down rather easily and then get right back up. He's not getting up, so he's legitimately hurt, and we hope that he can return.
They're coming out of the goal here to rescue this one is Zachary Lamb. Had one of the black shirts right on his heels there, but Lamb was able to race that one down. That could be kind of an interesting situation when you come that far out of the goal. And here we come. And this one is going to skip right up to Aiden Lineweaver as he had somebody bearing down on him. So the ball going back and forth pretty quickly now. As Lineweaver punts this one into Northgate territory. And this one is going to roll out of bounds on that far side, and it'll be a Clayton throw-in.
You have 13 minutes left in the first half, Tony. For those of you, once again, maybe new to the broadcast or new to high school soccer, you play 2 40-minute halves, and as opposed to the way it works in professional soccer or international soccer, the clock runs down from 40 minutes as opposed to running up to 90 minutes, and there's not as much injury time. Usually when it hits 0, you're pretty much done. Now in this game, because we've had 2 yellow cards, you might have a minute or 2 added by the referee.
And just, being an American football fan, I like to see the clock run down. That always makes a little more sense to me. And
I'm actually used to the other way. I like it kind of where it goes up to 45, and then they have the guy come out and the referee signals 3 minutes of injury time, and then you play 3 more. But it's always on his watch. The referee controls the clock is just kind of a guide. It's on the referee to end any period or game. This isn't like basketball. When it hits 0, it's over. You can go for a little bit while longer, and especially when you count up to 90 in games, you've seen 4, 5, 6 minutes of injury time added in some games, depending on the level of how many fouls are committed and if there's any injuries.
This one played back to Lineweaver, so he can't pick that one up. Quickly back out to Northgate, and they've got something going here. Another whistle. They're going to get the offsides here? Shouldn't be the offside. Didn't look like he was past that last defender.
Here's some interesting notes about number 11, Anthony Matum on Clayton. He's a junior, second-year varsity player. He's also a cross-country runner. Last year he broke the record for the 2-mile course at Castle Rock, the home course of Northgate. That's an interesting thing. He also is currently playing with the Diablo Football Club 97 Blue. So it's nice to have some of these notes here tonight as we
we appreciate that.
We're starting to get to know the soccer coaches a little better. It's like in football they know us and they're sick of us, so they know the only way to get rid of us is to give us information. The soccer coaches haven't learned that yet, so we're starting to get some stuff though.
In my experience, and it's funny because sometimes when you call these coaches, some of them are just chatty and know everything about their team, and other ones not so sure and don't really, maybe they're busy and they got to take care of their laundry or their kids or whatever, and they just kind of want to get the job done. But for the most part, they're all very responsive to you, and they want to help us out. They know they don't get on TV a whole lot, and when they do, they for the most part, want to make sure that we have something to talk about and information to relay about their clubs. This one kicked down and going to be rescued inside the box by Zachary Lamb. So a little bit more pressure for the goalies here in the last couple of minutes, Dan, but still have not seen that shot on goal yet.
And we've yet to really have any sort of consistency passing-wise. Now, here's a ball that was misplayed, and now Clayton has an opportunity.
And they center this one. Is going to go behind the goal.
It rolls out behind the goal.
Now, number 9, Alex King, in on that. Is it a chance possibly there for Clayton Valley goes awry?
Well, you saw some of the coach's notes on King is he's one of the fastest players in the league. He's also the co-president of the senior men's club with fellow soccer player Luis Molina. They have a senior men's club.
Yeah, he's a dangerous striker, an occasional wing player. Talked about being the fastest, one of the fastest guys. Been playing soccer since the age of 6, and also plays, Dan, for the Heritage Soccer Club of the under-18 Gold.
Wow.
I mean, one thing about soccer, Dan, the kids start very, very early. And my brother was coaching my nephew, and he said he likes it because one thing about it, Dan, unlike, say, baseball and even basketball, you just kind of put the ball out there for the little kids and they start chasing it. They don't have to stop for any reason because of double dribble or traveling or anything like that.
Well, I was going to say, for a 6-year-old, this is probably the simplest game to play. It's basically kick the ball towards that goal.
And keep running.
You
don't have to stop. And this one racing down the far sideline. That one will go out of bounds.
I'm going to have to call Coach Chappell and remind him next year that they need a TV jersey. Everyone has an alternate jersey now. Last week in the Winter Classic, the Capitals and the Blackhawks played, and they actually played in jerseys that they just wore for that game, and the Sharks are going to do that.
The big outdoor game.
So when they're on TV, you need to have a TV alternate with a big, giant white or red number that Dan can read.
That's very helpful.
Yes. It always reminds me of the classic story back in the day of the the Toronto Maple Leafs had an owner, Harold Ballard, who was very cantankerous, didn't like to be told to do anything. So when they told him he had to put names of the players on his jersey,
right.
he put them in the same color as the jersey.
So nobody could read them.
So then they had to change that rule.
I just thought it's funny that, I'm sorry, were we not specific enough? We need to you have to be able to read the numbers. Oh, geez.
You said just to put the names on. Their names are on.
All right, Northgate from the far side, trying to dump this in, going down to the corner. Lineweaver coming over, and he'll pick it up ahead of a charging Bronco.
There's a guy on the Northgate team named Jack Osborne. There's an interesting name for you, of course.
Oh, Jack Osborne, Ozzy's son.
Ozzy.
Yeah.
His favorite player is Van Persie, a guy I'd never really heard that much of Manchester United. Now, there's another very valuable.
I've heard of that team.
I've heard soccer team in England. And
this one, Buddha, and there's our first shot on goal coming from George Burrows, one of the Northgate captains, but handled rather easily by Lineweaver in goal.
If I ever get a chance to talk about George Best with Burrows, I want to tell him about the 2 seasons George Best spent playing indoor soccer in Oakland.
Oh.
He was incredible. He used to use the wall as his own assist man and just dribble right down by himself. He didn't even need a teammate. And George was a very, very fun guy to watch, and I can see why he'd enjoy him. But it's just interesting that he knows him.
Well, that's true. Because even though, growing up, Dan, soccer, at some point, I think I was just out of Little League. But my mom, who's a team mother and very involved in the community sports programs when my brother and I were playing, said at a certain point there, youth soccer had overtaken Little League baseball.
Well,
this is going back. This is the mid-'70s. This is a long time ago now.
It probably has.
So you'd think with all the interest with these guys growing up, you think, Dan, that they would have a big interest in pro and the international leagues.
But here's the difference, Tony. By looking at all these names that these kids have picked, and we'll go through some more as we move along, not one guy except for Best really made a name in America. They're all international players that play for other countries, other teams. Not one guy on here picked Chris Wondolowski, who you would think someone from this area where Wondolowski is from, he went to school at De La Salle, is one of the best top goal scorers in the MLS over the past 5 seasons, and he's the star of our local team, but not one person picked an MLS player.
Yeah, I'm sure the MLS would hope to be changing that situation here as they begin to grow and get more of their local teams to get more focus from the local communities and especially the local soccer programs. Because even when, like I said, when I was growing up, tons of people were playing soccer. With a replacement, I think leaving the game for Clayton, Taylor Howerman, number 12. I'm trying to see who
That's Chandler Wakefield, who you were talking about earlier.
One of the football player. Congratulations to him and the football Eagles and their fine season this year. Now he's a guy that they're hoping they get to get some juice from here for the rest of the year because he provided a pretty good spark for them last year. But to finish that point, Dan, a lot of the guys were playing soccer when I was a kid, but they didn't follow pro or international soccer.
No, I only played soccer 2 years for a YMCA club, and back in those days.
This one gets through. Here comes Lamb out of the box to kick it away. He was well past the point where he could pick that one up, and that was a gutsy play by Lamb, knowing when to come off his line, Dan, and he made the right decision that time.
Tony, we didn't, back when there were actually 2 North American Soccer League teams that played outdoors, the Earthquakes and the Oakland Clippers, who played at the Coliseum for a couple of years. But, back in those days, those games were hardly ever even on television.
Never. They were never. I never saw any of those games.
Every Earthquakes game is televised. Every MLS game is televised. I mean, it's really become incredible, the amount of things you can watch on TV. Not only that, but how many European matches are on
all the
national
ESPN
television.
Covers this. I've heard of Manchester.
Well, they come, and then how about the teams that come over here and tour and play exhibition games here? It's not coming to my head exactly right now who it was, but someone came over here and played at Cal last year and drew 60,000 people.
That's amazing. Oh, nice defensive play, able to kick that one away. It looked like number 11, Noah Smith, had a beat on that one. I can't see who it was there for Clayton, but able to knock that one away, and our best defensive play of the evening. But it can be a throw-in here for Northgate. Now, one of the players, of course, Dan, that I've always heard about, and everybody, there's a shot on goal, and that one is going to be rescued by Lineweaver. Try to see who
That was
will turn and make
Ryan
that shot.
Hathaway. That was Ryan Hathaway.
But another shot on goal there for, that's a couple now for the Broncos, and that was a pretty good looking play right there. But one of the players, Dan, I think, the Babe Ruth of soccer, I would say, of course, is Pele.
Pele, yes.
And everybody knew about him, and he still is a name that you can say to
Everyone
people, and
knows.
everybody still knows, and maybe they don't know, the greatest, 3 World Cups with Brazil.
No, he was
amazing
He
player.
was the reason why soccer got its start in America, because he played for the Cosmos, and they were the biggest team back in that day. Even a lot of teams failed in the North American Soccer League. The Cosmos weren't one of them. They used to draw 70,000 to the Meadowlands to watch them play. So they helped build it. It's just that when you start that build off, the MLS came back and did it very smartly. They came back with 10 teams. They didn't try to build some 50-team Super League and put a team in every city. That's what the North American Soccer League did back in the 70s. There were teams everywhere, and they were folding all the time. You only look, there's only been 3 teams fold in the almost 20-year history of the MLS.
There's another shot on goal, and kind of short hop that time by Lineweaver, but third shot on goal here, and all coming fairly recently here for Northgate as Aiden boots this one away.
And now here's the situation where inside of 2 minutes the clock stops running, and now it's up to the referee to end the play on the field for the first half.
This one dumped in, no offsides here. Here comes Northgate with a chance. Nice fancy dribbling. Booted there and dived by Lineweaver to make the save. Aiden Lineweaver with the best play from either goalie here tonight.
I
So
believe
that
that
was another
was
shot on goal, Dan.
Gregory Harris. But one day, soon, I will get glasses that allow me to read these numbers.
And here's another chance.
Oh, that's
and this
a goal.
one's going to score. If we can stay on this one, there is the goal scorer. The Broncos are on the board here. And they lead it 1-0, and all of a sudden their offense is really heated up. Still trying to get a view of the number to see who that was. But the Northgate Broncos take the lead at 1-0.
Oh, that
is that
was
number 9?
No, that was Noah Smith.
Noah Smith, number 9, getting the goal. So just like that, the Broncos get on the board, and all of a sudden,
I take that back. That was
number
David
9
Shinada.
for Northgate. There we go, David Shinada.
We need a spotter who can read the numbers of this team. That was Shinada, not Smith.
So Shinada gets the goal here under the 2-minute mark. We're in the extra time here in the first half, and all of a sudden, Dan, the Broncos have broken out some offense here.
Well, that was a defensive breakdown to start that play, and then the goaltender came out a little bit. Lineweaver came out just a little bit, and that was a perfect placement to get it by him. That's a long shot, really, in high school. That one came from a good 30 yards out, Tony, before it went into the goal.
Well, the Broncos may not be finished yet.
They really turned it on here. I mean, there were
really
no
have.
shots on goal in the last,
And they've
the
had
last
like
5
4,
minutes. Yeah.
within just a couple of minutes.
And some attacking. So maybe they've started to break down that defense at Clayton Valley, and the technical skill set of the Broncos is starting to come to the forefront.
Here's Clayton Valley trying to answer themselves. This one taken away. Good defensive play there by Northgate. Broncos keeping it in, and this half should be over momentarily.
He's
I
looking
would
at
think.
his watch, and I would think that maybe right now would be a good time to settle it since it's back in. But see, there's an attack going on, and right there, that was a dangerous play right
It
there.
was.
That's
Lineweaver
it.
put the ball back on the ground and nearly lost it, but that will do it. But David Shinoda, just moments ago, hitting the goal, and the Broncos hosting this game and leading 1-0. And that's the way the first half ends. Stay tuned. We'll have the second half here coming back right here on Walnut Creek TV.
Finally, I can create my monster by dumping my used oil filters, and nobody's going to stop me.
Look, Dastardly Dan is up to his old tricks. Yeah, and he's dumping used oil filters in the garbage.
I am Wiltenstein.
It's alive! It's alive!
Oh no, he's created a monster!
Quick, call Mr. Funnelhead to save the day.
Mr. Funnelhead, come quick. We need your help. Dastardly Dan has created a monster.
Oh no, not again. I'm on my way. Stop right there, Dastardly Dan. Oil Busters, use the magical powered recycling net to stop him.
Oh no, you've trapped me.
Take care of your creeks and delta. Recycle your used motor oil and filters for a cleaner environment. Oh no, I'm melting. Take your used motor oil filter and put it in a Ziploc bag and take it to a certified used oil collection center that accepts them.
Darn, foiled again by Mr. Funnelhead and the Oil Busters. I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
If you have curbside used oil and filter recycling, contact your waste management company for more details.
All right, we are back just moments away from starting the second half. A David Shinoda goal, and after a furious offensive pressure there provided by Northgate. Dan, I think they had 4 or 5 shots on goal in the last couple of minutes, and Shinoda's goal made it 1-0, the only goal so far of the game. But to finish that first half, Dan, the Northgate Broncos, some furious offense, to say the least.
Let's redefine furious. It wasn't exactly a John Jones fight, okay? You know who he is, MMA.
I do.
Champion.
I've
I'm
heard
just
of that,
saying,
yeah.
But for soccer, it was furious.
Tipped away right at the last second in front of the goal. That was a beautiful play. And here's Clayton Valley still trying to keep it in. Clayton.
Wow.
I think they kicked it backwards when they were right in front of the goal, and I kind of wondered why they didn't kick it forward, actually.
Now, the last 5 minutes, Tony has had some impressive action. You know,
very much
like
so.
Soccer can be that way, though. Sometimes, you know, you turn the game on at 0-0 after 30 minutes. There's a feeling out process, I think, in soccer sometimes. It's not as immediate as other sports. One guy we haven't talked about who has a huge amount of press notes is Elham Rahik, who's a junior. And he plays for a team. I'd love to play for this team, Ballistic United. No, that's a great team name right there. Played at San Leandro High School, and he's new to Clayton Valley as a center midfielder. He also has a 3.4 grade point average, which usually if they put that down, they're impressed with it, and I'm very impressed with that as well.
Well, a lot of these guys, hey, look, it's not just about sports here. As they get a shot of the ball getting stuck near the fence there. But they truly are student athletes. I mean, it's really about having good grades, and it's not just some sports factories turning out ball players for the next level. All right, here's Clayton Valley throwing it in. Jockeying for a position here, and this one out of bounds going underneath the Northgate bench. 1-0 in favor of the Northgate Broncos.
One thing I would like to thank them. You know, they've become very successful and very influential as Max Preps. But Tony, if we were doing this 20 years ago, we wouldn't have had a clue what was going on out here. But you go to Max Preps, and they give you a nice, the roster and the schedule and the scores, and they cover all the sports.
They do. They do
really
a great job. And this one kicked up and over everything. I think that was just wide left of the football goalpost.
Looked like a field goal attempt, just wide left. But they really help aiding in us preparing for these games, as aside from talking to folks. But that kind of information would not have been available, say, 15 to 20 years ago.
But it just, I think it goes to show, Dan, with Max Preps and things like that, high school sports, you talk about soccer itself, pro soccer being on the rise here in America, Dan, high school sports seem to be getting more and more popular all the time.
Well, Tony, they have weekly, games of the week in high school on just about every major sports network.
I mean, you see the ESPN with the football games all the time, and they're going to have some of the basketball games as well. It's going to be kicked out of bounds. And some nice hustle getting down there then by Anthony Madum. Anthony, a junior, Dan, left back and left mid. Second year with the varsity. Also varsity cross-country runner.
We talked about that. He actually set the record here.
And here's a corner kick, Dan, and I don't think we've seen too many of these tonight. Is that the first one?
First or second of the night, but that's defended well.
Headed away by Northgate. Headed toward the corner, and a couple of guys battling for it. Who's going to win that battle? Looks like Northgate is.
Now, Tony, I don't want to talk too much about football, the other football, but I do have one just a simple question to ask you. It's January 6th. Are the bowl games over?
No, they aren't. Well, no, the bowl games, I believe.
Yeah, just the championship.
No, but I think the MeineckeCarCare.com Bowl.
Between Marshall Tech and Western Kentucky, that game is going to be played. And anyone's going to watch it.
Bakersfield State against Tucson A&I.
Agricultural and should be agricultural institutional.
But one thing I did want to say, Dan, is we got all these sports. We got soccer here. We've got, of course, basketball going on at all levels. You've got so many things
Wrestling.
going on. Obviously football. This one is going to be kicked. This is going to hit a Clayton Valley player and go out of bounds. But starting January the 1st, of course, New Year's Day with the two college playoff games, and then the NFL games, and then January the 12th, Dan, with the college championship game, which should be a great game. 11 football games on in that period. And my wife looks at me and goes, "Oh, no, are you going to watch every one?" Even for me, Dan, it's almost overkill.
To tell you the God's honest truth, I only really followed the two college games and just been passing the NFL games because I didn't think that the NFL matchups were that good this weekend. Now, coming up, you have some pretty good matchups coming. I think this week will be a lot more interesting. But
yeah, I mean, that Cardinal-Panther game, even though it wasn't that big of a spread, that was a boring football game.
Boring.
That was a boring game.
When the team that wins gains 137 yards or whatever it was on offense, that's bad. They're going to gain 137 yards on offense this week, too, but they're not going to win.
All right.
You had some information about Coach Hara. He played for the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, 6 years, actually, Dan, in the MLS. Played for the Galaxy, Colorado Rapids.
Wonder if he played with Paul Bravo, who was I used to know Paul Bravo's in-laws very well.
He also, Dan, played for the Tampa Bay Mutiny.
Who is one of the three teams that actually folded. There's a trivia question for you, Tony. There's been
I would never get
three
that.
Teams. Okay, we'll give them to you. Tampa Bay Mutiny, the Miami Fusion, and this year the Chivas USA. And just to give you a note, Chivas USA will be replaced in 2017 by a new expansion team in Los Angeles who will play in a new soccer-specific stadium that is under construction as we talk. Also, Atlanta and Miami will be getting teams. Atlanta has been awarded a team that will play in the new Falcons Stadium in 2017, and Miami has to have a deal done with their stadium construction people, and once they get that deal done, David Beckham is rumored to be involved in the ownership group in Miami.
And, of course, David, member of some of those championship Galaxy teams.
He was another guy that really did. If you want to look at a Pele who started it, and then an Eric Winalda who helped move it along. But Landon Donovan and Beckham were the two guys that really, in the last 5 to 10 years, helped build soccer in this area. When Beckham and the Galaxy would play the Earthquakes, they had to move it to the Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, score for Clayton Valley!
That was a great goal right there. There was hardly any room on the side of Lamb to the goalpost. But that was a great put away right there.
Anthony Matum here coming at the 32-40 mark of the second half, Dan, and we are all tied up.
That was great. That was good action right there.
So it's Shinoda for Northgate and in the first half, and now Matum
We've actually
for Clayton
seen
Valley.
Two really good goals in this game, Tony. And, a lot of times in soccer you can have some just basic things bounce off of people and go in, but those were very, very nice shots by both players.
So it's Clayton getting the equalizer here when we're all tied at 1. And, boy, that got everybody excited, including me. Very nicely done by Clayton Valley to tie things up. And Clayton with a nice defensive play to boot this one away. Trying to see who made that play, but here's Northgate dumping it right back in.
That's Shinoda on that side over there who scored the goal, who's been involved in a number of plays down in towards the midfield and then off to, trying to get in to score. I would say that Clayton Valley's defense has clogged up the middle of the field. Northgate's goal came from the outside flank, Whereas that goal right there came off a rebound and it was just put in. But I'm just impressed. It didn't look like there was hardly any room at all to put that goal in.
Well, Ryan Glockner Ring, number 7 there for Clayton Valley, Dan. He's one of the guys who've been clogging things up over there defensively. As we take a look at Coach Hara. And to finish that thing at Coach Hara, Dan, talked about the Galaxy, the Rapids, the Mutiny. Coach with UCLA, regional director for the under-14 academy team for the Quakes, and a PE teacher here at Clayton Valley. We told you, 20-loss season before Coach Hara got here, 6-9-6 last year, barely missed the NCS.
Yeah, this is no 20-loss team right here, Tony. This team can compete, and they look a lot. Obviously, that's probably a team that had a lot of seniors the year before.
They did.
And then lost all of them and had to come with young guys, and then you can see they've rebuilt that program back up. So when we do talk about rebuilding, it's hard to rebuild in high school because basically you build off what you have.
Well, Coach Hara was telling me in his line we were going to come out here and make the play.
More of a progression from youth to experience.
Well, that's the word that Coach Hara put on it for me, and I think what he's being specific to, Dan, is building from the freshman level up, getting everybody on the same page. So as the kids come up, like in football I was talking about earlier, Dan, everybody kind of knows what's going on here. We've got some bodies hitting the floor, hitting the ground here. And
I don't think that song would have sold so well if it was bodies hitting the AstroTurf. Or field turf, so to speak, as it is now.
That was Greg Harris of Northgate hitting the deck, but he's okay. But Coach Hara just kind of putting everything together, giving everybody to play in that same system, Dan, and things like that, and coaching a lot of the youth soccer. So even before these guys get into high school, Dan, very familiar with what's going on in this game. So by the time these guys get into high school, Dan, they've played a number of years of soccer. You see some of the kids starting, that sort of the peewee ranks and playing all the way through. And now we have one of the Clayton Valley members here toward the near side, slow to get up, and the whistle stops the action. So Aiden Lineweaver, we came in, Dan, at 17 saves. He's gotten a handful so far here this evening. Good experienced player, Dan. Played with DFC in Concord, and that's a team ranked in the top 10 in the nation. And he worked with the goalkeeper, a coach at Cal, Henry Falk, and that certainly helped to improve his skills. Organizes the D very well, Dan. He's a good communicator, good reactions.
By the way, that was Rahik, who was injured, has now made his way to the sideline and a substitution in for Clayton here. We got 29 minutes to play here in a 1-1 game.
So they know, Dan, that they're going to need some big plays out of Lineweaver a handful of times during the game. He's kind of already made those, and here comes Clayton Valley with another chance, and this one is going to be knocked away. Beautifully done. Zachary Lamb right on that, sliding to his derriere, Dan, able to get the foot on that one and knock it away because bearing down on him, again, was Anthony Matum looking for his second goal of the evening.
Now, that's the kind of play you love to see. Center midfield pass to the wing, good speed coming down on the attack, a nice shot on goal, and even a better save. And when we had Lamb against, he'd only been played at 3 or 4 games. He's a young kid, so he's getting a lot of experience here in a very tough league.
Matum with the corner kick. And that goes out to a black jersey. That's going to kick and it's going to go wide right. But that last play by Zachary Lamb, and talk about a shot on goal and a great save. That was a great save right there.
A lot of the Northgate players favor Lionel Messi, who the great Argentina, and also FC Barcelona. There's another team that's worth a lot of money too, Tony. I mean, between Madrid and Barcelona and Man U and a couple of the other teams in England, you're talking about teams that are on par with NFL teams for value.
Unbelievable. And you talk about, Dan, these teams being so valuable. What did the Dodgers sell for previous to last year?
It's $3.2 billion.
Something
or some ridiculous
absolutely
like
ridiculous. And I think when they were talking about how much they were actually worth before the purchase, Stan, it wasn't even close to the price that they ended up selling for.
No, it's amazing what teams are worth.
Here's Matum again, Dan. working one-on-one. Can he center this to one of his teammates? And knocked away. Beautiful defensive play. Trying to see who that is, but those are those gold numbers again. And now a whistle is going to stop play, but a very nice-looking defensive play there coming from Northgate, Dan, to stop that last charge by Clayton Valley. But so all of a sudden here, Maidham has really been a thorn in the side of the Northgate Broncos.
Well, it's speed that we didn't see in the first half out of him or any really of the attack. And, you know, it's not like you can really warm up in the weather that we have out here, but they have definitely come out a little looser and a little bit more energetic in the second half.
Boy, and slow to get up one more time. There's Ryan Hathaway, number 7, but he appears to be okay. He'll stay in the game. Going to be a free kick here for Northgate on the Clayton Valley side. Let's see if Northgate can parlay this freebie, Dan, into a scoring opportunity. A 1-1 tie here from Northgate High School. Inside the 25-minute mark, this one going to fly and be caught by Lineweaver in the air.
That didn't look dangerous to start with, but, boy, it got to the goal in a hurry, and Lineweaver made the save. You know, a direct kick can go right into the goal for those of you that are joining us for maybe the first time or don't understand all the rules of soccer, which me and Tony will not profess to know all the rules of soccer as well as some of the other sports that are out there. But an indirect free kick has to be touched by someone, either opponent and or your own team before it goes into the goal. So I will say they're really in this half there's been, look at this, that's a nice play through. And we've had a lot more of that in the last 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes of this game.
Clayton just going to kick that one out of bounds. That's Shane Mann going to knock that one out. There are a couple of guys that they really count on. I talked about Lineweaver. Also, Luis Molina, another one of those guys, Dan, that shuts down everything in the midfield and creates for guys like Rahik to get upfield, and Miguel Hernandez. You know, sometimes those guys can be sort of the unsung heroes, Dan, the guy who can sort of get possession of his team and then outlet to another player. Maybe he won't get the assist or score the goal, but kind of one of those guys that gets everything started for his other teammates. There's a nice battle for the ball right here. And some nice play by Nick Giannini, number 17. And now here for Clayton Valley. That was Taylor Howerman, number 12. This one headed away by Northgate.
Ooh.
And here's some good speed here coming down the near side. And then some body contact right there. That was Sam Riddle of Clayton Valley against George Burrows.
I think he's giving out a yellow, too, here for this play. Yes, he is.
He is. Clearly did not touch the ball at all that time and then made a whole lot of contact. Did Sam Riddle. And it looked like Burrows was kind of flying down the field there that time.
Oh, one thing we're going to have to do just a little research on, Tony, is what is the limit for a yellow substitution sit-out time? Do you have to sit out for 2 minutes, 5 minutes? But you can see Riddle on the sideline right at the 50-yard line of what would be the football field here. So here's an interesting point, too, for people that haven't seen us. You know, this field has really – wait till after this play.
And this one's going to go out of bounds, past the goal, wide right. That was a pretty good-looking kick right there.
You know, we've done Northgate games. They almost always were on the road when it came to a football because they didn't have a football field for so long. And ever since they opened this place up, Northgate's image, I think, has
the whole aura around
Northgate has risen. And,
absolutely, I agree.
And I think it just, you know, it's almost like getting in with the big boys.
Corner kick from Noah Smith. Drops it in, headed, and it's going to be wide left. Who got the head on that one?
I got it, but I, you know, once again, can't keep saying it, Tony, but some guy in a white shirt.
But I'll tell you what, Dan, that was a good-looking kick by Noah Smith. Got it to a teammate, headed the ball, and just went off the head a little bit to the left that time.
That was Michael Hathaway who did that, whose favorite player, by the way, is Andres Iniesta of Spain. I just thought I'd throw that out there because Mike made that. Mike's a taller player, and, of course, when you do a cross or a corner like that, you want a big player in there to try to get this head on the ball. And now Clayton is attacking back quickly, and they have numbers.
Clayton looking to break this tie, and now another whistle.
I believe they had even though that's the interesting rule about offsides. That ball was not played to the guy who was offsides, but it's still offsides. It was actually played and deflected to the left wing, and the right wing was offsides.
Wait, look like there's so many guys down there. It didn't look like that looked like a handball right there. I think they were going to get the call here against Clayton, inadvertent as it was. I think handball is going to be the call, and now the Northgate started a little bit too early, and the officials are going to make them restart it here.
That was Taylor Herman, plays for Diablo FC, which stands for Football Club. Did you know that, Tony?
FC?
Yes.
Okay.
I let you know.
That breaks it down nicely. But look at all the black shirts outnumbering the white shirts, and they're able to take it away. Good defense by Clayton. Here's Noah Smith on the side, and now some bumping here, and they're going to call Luis Molina. Just talked about Luis and some of the good things that he does. Unfortunately, this is not so good.
And another yellow card.
And another one. Boy, those are starting to fly out here pretty quickly now.
I want to say 3 on Clayton, 1 on Northgate, and another substitution will be required here. And this game is getting a little rough, Tony.
It really is.
Whenever the hard thing to do is when you're going for a tackle. But when you make contact like that, elbow, arm, it's almost like a hockey play. That stuff's not tolerated in soccer, and it'll get you a card just very quick. And I'll give the ref credit. I haven't had any questions with his carding today. It's all been pretty much taking out physical play.
So it'll be a free kick here from the far side here for Northgate. This one booted up, and there's some contact. Ball comes loose, but is finally picked up. And that's Lineweaver making the play there, and that was another one of those possible chances, Dan. And this one goes out of bounds on the far side. There's Coach Hara directing traffic for Clayton Valley. It's kind of funny to see Clayton Valley in the black and white that.
I know. Well, I'm not lying to you, Tony. I was at the West Coast Jamboree. I walk in, and I'd wanted to see Concord. I haven't seen Concord's girls team probably play in 12 or 14 years, and I walk in, I go, so where's Concord? And they go, oh, that's them. They're wearing black. You can walk in, the colors. I've been around this league since I was, 7 years old. It's been 47 years I've been watching all these teams play. College Park wears purple. Clayton Valley wears blue and red. Northgate wears maroon and gold. And now you're coming out and they're wearing black. 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 Hey, guess what? Antioch wore black. That was pretty much Antioch and Pittsburgh were the originals.
All right, the Eagles going to get things started here from the near side momentarily. And do the honors here to toss this one in. It'll be Hersha Tsev for the Eagles. Trying a little give and go. And there's Bellasorte, who got hurt early in the game and back in. A couple of goals on the year for John. Some fancy dribbling there, and this one punched toward the goal and just wide to the left.
And this game could be decided on a goaltender mistake, something along those lines, just because the air's getting a little heavier, a little colder, maybe a slip or something in the weather. That's one of the problems of playing in weather like this, Tony. You never know what's going to happen.
So here is a corner kick upcoming here for Clayton Valley. Pablo Hernandez from that far corner. See if he can't give Clayton Valley the lead here. Hit up high, headed straight up in the air. Trying to volleyball that one in the air again. Can they get a foot on this one? And it's taken away by Northgate. Boy, that one spent a lot of time, Dan, right in front of the goal.
Well, they call that position a lot of times a sweeper, and you saw right there. He swept it right away, cleaned up the garbage, and got it out of there.
Yes.
Those guys are invaluable, and sometimes they're one of your best players, especially back on defense.
So really, Northgate dodging a big bullet right there to keep this game 1-1. Dump back in. And then fire it away nicely there by Northgate. Can this create an opportunity here for the Broncos? Gonna fake the give and go that time. Then the pass is taken away. Good defense that time by number 3, Sam Riddle of Clayton. They battle for it here on the near side. And some fancy dribbling, and this one go out of bounds. I believe it did. Are they going to call that out? They are. And it'll throw in here from the near side in front of the Northgate bench coming to Clayton Valley.
So, Tony, a couple of dates to remember. On March the 8th, the new Orlando MLS franchise will debut against the new New York City franchise in the Citrus Bowl, which has been reconfigured and reconstructed in Orlando. On the 15th, the New York team will play its first home game at Yankee Stadium against the New England Revolution. And that's right, folks, MLS returning to New York City at Yankee Stadium.
Here comes Clayton Valley with a chance to untie it.
Ooh,
kind of missed it, but able to pick it up and keep it alive, trying to center it for a teammate. Unable to do so is Taylor Howerman, number 12, but he had a golden opportunity, Dan, and he looked like he almost just whiffed on the kick. He just got a piece of it, and now body's hitting the ground. And no whistle to stop play here. Number 4, Luis Molina, involved in the fracas again. And the crowd very upset. They wanted a card against Clayton Valley. Are they going to get it?
Well, they're going to get, one thing the linesman can do is consult with the referee on any sort of violent play. They are there for the lines. They are there for the offside calls, but they are also there in case there's any sort of violent play. They can ask them, because look at the area the referee has to cover. Impossible for one man to do.
Now, it looked to me, Dan, that the kind of bodies just kind of colliding and tripping over each other, and they're going to give the ball here to Northgate, but certainly didn't look to be anything malicious on that last play.
No, I don't think it was malicious, but just to get it right, too, is that's what you're supposed to do out there, and you communicate and get it right, and they did it that time.
So Clayton Valley now on the year, Dan, 10 goals, 7 assists. This one, Noah Smith's going to try to claim this one in the corner. It's going to go out of bounds. Bellasorte coming in with 2 goals, a pair of assists. King with 2. RG Ring, he's got 1, Dan. Vines, Hernandez, Rhodes, and Bolander, all with 1 each, rounding out the scoring for the season for Clayton Valley. And, of course, Anthony Madum can add him to the list after that very pretty second-half goal that tied the game.
Looks like Northgate's, I can't tell if they're trying to substitute or not. They're at the area where yes, they are, trying to get a couple of substitutes in.
Here's number 15 for Northgate coming into the ballgame. That's Greg Harris. And it looks like he will replace number 7, Ryan Hathaway. And it will be a corner kick upcoming here for the Broncos when we get this restarted. A 1-1 tie here as we move inside 15 minutes here. Here's one kicked up in the air, headed away by Clayton Valley. Trying to keep it in is Northgate, and able to knock that one away. There's good defense that time.
This game has kind of changed a little, Tony. In the second half, the ball has been Northgate trying to go almost through the air to get into the goal. A lot of crosses, a lot of stuff played off the head into the goal area. Clayton's attack has really picked up in the second half. A lot more speed down the wings and a lot more. That last time I thought getting down here I could throw in just a couple of dates because they were down on this end of the field. It didn't take them 5 seconds to get a scoring chance. So the speed of the game has picked up a lot here.
And that certainly does make it exciting when you can go end to end and actually end up with that quality shot on goal. Not just a shot on goal, Dan, but one of those that gets you kind of going like, woo, oh boy, here we go.
Well, I have to say, Tony, since about the 30-minute mark of the first half, this has turned into a pretty darn good soccer game.
Very fast-paced, going up and down. And we've had those shots on goal. And remember, Dan, to close out that second half, it was really a flurry by Northgate. And they got several shots on goal, and finally one of them did pay off with David Shinoda after we got inside 2 minutes. There's one kicked out of bounds on that far side. No, it's going to stay in. Clayton keeps that one in, dumps into the side. And then over comes Zach Lamb to play it. Taking a look at the D1 standings, Dan. Livermore, San Ramon Valley, and Pittsburgh on top of that list. Clayton Valley right now 13th on that list.
Pittsburgh's soccer team is really good.
Oh, and there was some body contact right there, and one of the Broncos hitting the ground. And number 12, Taylor Howerman, made the contact there and drew that whistle. But again, nothing malicious about that. Very good sportsmanship by Howerman as he leaves the scene of the crime. Free, and the Broncos now will kick it away deep in their own territory. And the Division II, Dan, the Piedmont, Deanza, Pinole Valley. Deanza 10-1-1 on this young season. Northgate number 9 on that Division II list. Here's Clayton Valley able to kick that one aside. Noah Smith giving chase for Northgate. Does able to get this back to a teammate to keep this one alive. Can the Broncos get a chance here? Trying to center it. Blocked by Clayton Valley. And then bodies hitting the ground. And again, Dan, too many black shirts around Noah Smith that time as he was trying to get free. This one dumped in.
Luis Molina made a nice defensive play on the far side, and he was the one getting attacked on that side.
Boy, this one dumped in to be well wide to the right.
I got to say, Tony, after that first game we did at Los Lomas, my favorite new invention are the screens behind the goals. Remember some of those ones? You had to go get the ball. And the thing that's amazing to me is there's only one ball. So can we get like 5 balls and screens? Oh, Matt says they're for lacrosse, but guess what? It works for soccer as well.
Thank you, lacrosse.
Can you imagine the lacrosse balls? Those things will roll into the next town.
When you see the soccer teams come with all their equipment, they've got a bag with about 30 balls in them.
I know.
Why can't they just throw in another ball?
Well, if you ever watch an MLS game or an international game, they got like 80 ball kids. The ball goes anywhere. You got a guy replacing the ball for you.
Those screens have come in handy, and it's going to help the pace of the game.
Yes,
no doubt about it. Now we've got a stoppage here. And the officials talking to Coach Hara, and Guillermo looking for an explanation of some sort, and he appears to be at least satisfied with the conversation so far.
You know, it must be tough, though, for this referee. You got some guys who are coaches. They had their kids play. They had some good talking about the guy. He knows a little bit about soccer. That guy knows a lot about soccer. he's played professional soccer, so he's better know what he's talking. And I'm not saying that he doesn't, but I'm just saying you better know what you're talking about with that guy because he's been around.
That he has. And this one's going to be tapped out of bounds. And that was Shane Mann, number 22. Talked about Taylor Howerman before, the sophomore, forward winger. Quick, speedy guy. We did see that.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays for Diablo FC.
I still like Ballistic.
That's a great name.
What is
that?
It?
Is
Ballistic United. That might be the best name of the week right there.
And they battle for this one, kicked up in the air, and that's wide to the right. Coming off that screen that Dan loves so much. The lacrosse screen.
Good stuff, I have to admit.
Works for soccer so well.
Well, lacrosse is not played at every school. So that's something that, you might see some places and at others you won't. Especially on this side of the hill, it's played a lot more than it is on the other side of the hill.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Down the Highway 24 corridor. That is a very popular sport.
And down 680.
The Acalanes area, they love that. The 680 guys, they do. But you talk about Miramani and Acalanes and Campo. Certainly lacrosse a very big sport there. Out of the Highway 4 area, it hasn't caught on at all.
No.
And this one booted in. Here comes Northgate. Can they untie this one here? Couple of one-on-one battle, and a nice job by Sam Riddle to take it away from Hathaway. Sam Riddle on a one-on-one play, and we don't see a lot of the one-on-one plays, especially that close to the goal. And Sam Riddle just made a fine play, and for all intents and purposes, he's kept this game tied with that fine defense. Nice-looking dribble here up high and over everything. And
wow, that had been good from 37 yards out.
And Aiden Linehour of Clayton Valley signaling Dan good for the field goal.
Now, the game had a real nice pace, and it slowed down here in about the last 5 minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see if either team can get the momentum back to get the game-winning goal here, because I have a feeling that if someone scores, that will be the end of this one.
That'll be the end of it. So inside 8.5. But, Dan, as we look at a 1-1 game here, and we've seen some slow spots, we've seen some incredibly fast parts of this game. Mm-hmm. for a 1-1 game, Dan, this still has been pretty exciting. And right now, both teams getting some balls close to the goal that, you and they were kind of making believers out of you and I that they were actually going to score. So here's Clayton dumping in. Do they have a chance? The goalie comes out. It's going to be knocked away, and a great play right there.
Once again, a guy in a white uniform.
Yeah, one thing about those black uniforms that we don't like, but at least you can see the numbers.
I can see the numbers. They also have them on their shorts.
And now we're going to have a whistle.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was Dean Lewis, but I could be wrong. Really, I have no idea. Now, see, impressive, though. Now, I might be able to see this right here. He's right in front of me. I got binoculars. And it's number 13. So there it is. That's Francis Samilia. Now, that's how interesting it's trying to get the numbers out of here.
Yeah, this one kicked out of bounds over to the Northgate bench. But you're talking about lacrosse, Dan, and there's a game that I really thought was going to be one of the next big-time sports. Really hasn't happened. Still
Tony,
popular on the Northeast.
We don't need another big-time sport.
That's what I'm thinking, Dan.
We have enough sports.
We just have too many.
We have so many now that it's ridiculous,
But if you think about lacrosse, is Northgate trying to make a good approach, taken away by Clayton Valley. When you think about lacrosse, Dan, it kind of has everything that people like. Fast pace, a lot of action, a lot of scoring, physical play, violence.
Well, that's in the indoor game more than the outdoor game.
But the outdoor game has a lot of that contact that gets a lot of those woo hits that people like.
I don't know. It's like I said, if I'm going to watch something like that, I'll take hockey. 100 times over for me. But that's just me.
I actually do enjoy lacrosse. Got a chance to see some of it. But for whatever reason, Dan, it's still kind of a fringe sport, except if you're on the Northeast.
Well, they've tried to put outdoor teams in the Bay Area, indoor teams in the Bay Area, teams that play on top of mountains in the Bay Area. Guess what? Not one.
That doesn't make it.
It didn't make it. So there's only so much to go around.
I agree. That's what I think it really is, Dan. As soccer has come up and then gone down over the last few decades, and I think to myself, we've already entrenched with baseball, football, and basketball,
and hockey,
and then you got plenty of college sports
and college, and
but talk about
things like MMA and stuff like that. People spend their money on that now.
Here's Clayton Valley trying to untie this one and knocked away defensively. Good job by Northgate. Clayton going to have to keep this one in.
That was
try to get another shot taken away again by the Broncos.
That was Adrian Ortiz. Nice defensive play that time. Clayton has had the best attack here in the second half. The best of the attack, I should say.
Boy, Noah Smith with a fine-looking play right there, and the ball taken away from Burrows, I believe, knocked out of bounds. But, talking about, Dan, some of the sports that get a lot of attention through television.
I know one that I wish
hard to break in.
Would be the Jim Harbaugh coaching search. They can have that from now on.
NFL is just ridiculous, though, Dan. NFL is... And I love it, but, when you have the situation, Dan, where not only are the games on all the time during the course of the season, but NFL talk is they just bombard you with NFL talk. I can't even watch it anymore.
It's kind of sad in a way. It would be nice to have an hour dedicated to soccer or anything else.
Well, ESPN does have some coverage.
ESPN does a great job,
coverage.
And so does Fox Sports.
Knocked down here, and Noah Smith going to get called for that. Noah, a little too much contact. And this game winding down rather quickly, Dan, inside of 4 minutes right now.
I would just have to say the way this second half has been played, the fact that Clayton Valley's been able to get the ball up the field and make some plays, they might have a shot here. Northgate is probably going to have to win on a counter. Look how fast they get the ball up and into the goal area.
Boy, it looks like Clayton had a chance to head that ball and just missed it. Here comes Northgate racing down the far side. Can they make a play on this one, then quickly taken away and knocked out of bounds by Clayton Valley?
One thing Northgate has not been able to get out and get a guy really open in this game. If you remember their goal, which was a long time ago, Tony, it was a 30-yard out goal or maybe 20 yards out, and it was kicked by Shinoda from the far right wing and kind of made its way into the goal past the goaltender who might have misplayed the angle. but they have not been able to get a fast attack, an outnumbered. There really has been very few outnumbered attacks in this game. So I guess you'd have to say defensively it's been played well played. Offensively, a little bit, both teams have struggled a touch to get a consistent attack.
So this one, trying to keep this one in, and Clayton able to get this one back to midfield.
Ooh.
And Lineweaver coming off the line, able to make that play. That was a dangerous situation. If he doesn't come up with that cleanly, Dan, boy, he's really in trouble.
If you use some line like he weaved off the line, I'm not going to accept it,
No,
Tony. It's too easy.
That's more of a Dan Wall. That's a Dan Wall humor right there.
It wasn't just an easy line for you.
Dumped in. So taking a look ahead here for Northgate, Dan, after tonight. California as a whistle blows. That'll be on the 10th. And then at Ignacio Valley on the 13th, looking over at Clayton Valley. After tonight, YV on the 8th, at Pitt on the 10th. That should be a good match there. They're playing Dublin on the 12th, and then Berean Christian on the 15th for Clayton. So now we got a free kick here. Noah Smith pops this one in the air, headed backwards. Now into a big crowd, and the kind of a scrum-looking situation here. Going for the ball, and Clayton going to kick this one over into the Northgate bench. So a throw in here upcoming for the Broncos.
We're at the 2-minute mark, Tony, so now the time is being kept on the field. So I'd say we probably have somewhere between 4 to 5 minutes left to play here.
So Clayton, Dan, after a rough start, a loss, tie, and a loss. And this one going to be knocked away, and nicely done, some good defense there again by Clayton. They're just going to kick this one out of bounds. No, they've got a man over there trying to center this one. Knocked away, headed into the air, and counted for the Broncos! So Northgate unties it inside of 2 minutes. They scored first inside of 2 minutes of the first half, and they get the second goal to untie it inside of 2 minutes here in the second half. And the Northgate Broncos lead it 2-1.
That's number 14, Andres Garcia, who got that goal. That was just kind of an innocent little play to the sideline. And all of a sudden the ball came back in and was headed inside, and Garcia was in the right place at the right time to put that in. Northgate has a 2-1 lead, and Clayton Valley is going to have to really kick it up a gear here. Maybe 3 minutes left to play.
So Clayton Valley is going to have to hurry, Dan. They're not really sure how much time is left, and they're going to have a tripping situation here. This is going to go against Northgate. Looks like number 9.
And another
Shinoda,
yellow. Yeah,
another yellow card. David, of course, with that first goal inside of 2 minutes. And then in this second half, Anthony Madem for Clayton Valley to tie it up. And then Andres Garcia here just moments ago able to untie it. And the injured Clayton Valley player. And that's Elham Rahik.
He's
talked about
been,
earlier.
Nicked a couple times today. Now, in terms of personnel, losing Shinoda with a 2-1 lead late in the game might not be the worst thing, just because you get to put a defensive player on, and they actually added Human Narazi.
This one booted away. And here's Northgate here trying to salt this one away and get a win. Northgate's won their last 2 against a couple of good teams in Campo Lindo and Acalanes.
Now, this is something.
Another injury over here.
Matt can. We have 2 injuries, one out on the field, and then, of course, number 15, Rahi is laying down on the Northgate sideline and being attended to by the Northgate athletic trainer. So this game has been. Now, you remember that we did a game 3-4 weeks ago. There wasn't very much rough play in that game. I wouldn't say this is rough play, but it's just ended up this way where we've had a number of guys go down, a number of guys get yellow. There's been 5 yellow cards in this game, Tony, and that's a lot for a pro game.
And a lot. And one thing, Dan, it doesn't look like a lot of flopping either. It looks like some serious contact going on. Adrian Ortiz, number 23, getting up. And while I got a moment here, Dan, I want to go over the Northgate game log. A win over Pinole Valley to start things, and they won 3-0 at Stevenson in Pebble Beach. Then a loss to Monterey. I wonder if they played any golf during that time down at Pebble Beach in Monterey.
I don't know, but I know I can't afford to play that course. And they can't afford to have me on it with the houses and glass near it.
And then we had the Los Lomas game at Los Lomas where Northgate won that one with a shutout 3-0. Lost to Campolindo, a tied to Mount Diablo, and then a loss to San Lorenzo before the 2-1 and 1-0 win over Campolindo and Acalanes. So we have one team on a 3-game winning streak, Dan, and one team on a 2-game winning streak. But right now it looks like Northgate's going to get this one unless Clayton Valley can come up with a very late goal indeed.
Well, we're going to have a little bit of extra time in this one, so we'll see what the referee lets them do. But Clayton's going to have to attack quickly.
Yes. And this is one thing I would like to know, Dan. I really would like to know how much time is left.
I know. That's why I like the way it's ran down. Although, like I said, Tony, it's always on the ref to blow the whistle, but still would give you a little bit of an idea.
Yeah. It does make it a little more exciting when you know and you can sort of count down. And this one taken out of the air, nicely done by Zach Lamb.
And, of course, this is the one thing that we're in soccer with a goaltender. You can just pretty much take the ball and send it to the other to the other side.
Hold it for a while and then give it that big boot. And that is going to do it.
Wow.
So a final score, Northgate wins it 2-1. And how interesting was it, Dan, that David Shinoda scored inside of 2 minutes in the first half? Andres Garcia gets one inside of 2 minutes in the second half. That proves to be the game winner.
And Maidum scored very early in the second half for Clayton Valley. So the goals came at opportune times. But I'd have to say, amazingly, those are the players of the game as well. Shinoda had a lot of offensive chances for Northgate and ran the field very well. Maidum really brought his A game towards the second half and into that game, had a number of chances. And Garcia, the advantageous header into the net, making it 2-1 Northgate, and a very well-played high school soccer game here tonight, Tony.
Yeah, very well played. Aiden Lineweaver did give up a couple of those 2 goals, Dan, but also made one incredible save and several other great saves, especially when Northgate was really hot toward the end of that first half. But that will do it. So the Northgate Broncos get the win as they win over Clayton Valley here 2-1. And Dan, a final word?
No, but Happy New Year to everyone, and hope you had a good time, and we hope to see you again. There's talk we may do another game or a basketball game, and whenever we have a chance to do this, Tony, and work with you and Matt, it's always fun, and well, let's go have a beer.
Always a lot of fun indeed. For the aforementioned Matt Bolender and Dan Wall, I'm Anthony Schultz saying good night from Walnut Creek.